The great hall of the Corvani Empire stretched wide like an endless crystal cave. Light from 3 suns passed through the walls, making rainbow colors dance across the floor. In the center of this space, 12 tall figures stood around a floating table made of pure energy. Admiral Zethkar raised his 4 arms toward the glowing display above them. His blue skin sparkled in the light, and his large black eyes looked at the images floating in the air. The images showed a small blue planet far away in space. "Fellow warriors," Zethkar said in his deep voice, "today we talk about a new problem. A species that calls itself human has spread to many star systems near our borders." The other Corvani leaders moved closer to look. They saw pictures of strange 2-armed creatures walking on 2 legs. These humans had small eyes, pink or brown skin, and hair growing from their heads. They looked weak and soft compared to the Corvani. Commander Velthara spoke first. She was smaller than the admiral, but her voice was sharp like a blade. "These creatures look very weak. They have no hard shell to protect them, no claws for fighting, no telepathic powers at all. How did they even survive on their own planet?" The floating display changed to show human cities. Tall buildings reached toward the sky, but they were made of simple metal and glass. Nothing like the living crystal cities of the Corvani that could heal themselves and grow stronger over time. "Their technology is very basic," said General Corthan, pointing at the images with one of his clawed fingers. "They still burn fuel to power their ships. They use small metal bullets as weapons. Their computers are slower than a Corvani child's learning device." Other voices joined in around the table. The Corvani leaders laughed at what they saw. These humans seemed like children playing with toys, thinking they were strong. "Look at this," Velthara said, making the display show human governments. "They fight each other all the time, hundreds of different nations on one planet. They cannot even agree on simple things. How can such divided creatures pose any threat to our great empire?" Admiral Zethkar nodded slowly. "This is true. Our spies tell us they argue about everything. Some worship different invisible gods. Others fight over which economic system to use. They even disagree about what foods to eat and what clothes to wear." The display showed human soldiers training. They moved slowly and got tired quickly. Their weapons needed to be cleaned and repaired often. When they got hurt, they needed long times to heal, unlike Corvani, who could fix most wounds in hours. "Their lifespan is very short," added science leader Quillnex. "Most humans die in less than 100 years. Some die even younger from diseases that would never hurt a Corvani. They are like insects that live for only 1 season." "Yet," Admiral Zethkar said, his voice becoming more serious, "these insects have somehow spread to over 30 star systems. They have colonies on moons and planets throughout that region of space. Our border scouts report seeing human ships in areas where no ships should be able to travel." This made the room become quiet. The Corvani had ruled space for over 1,000 years. They were the strongest, smartest, and most advanced species anyone knew. How could these weak humans do something impressive? "Perhaps they found old technology left by some extinct race," suggested Commander Velthara. "Many species have died out over the millions of years. Maybe humans are just lucky scavengers who picked up tools they don't understand." General Corthon agreed. "Yes, that makes sense. Like children finding adult weapons. Dangerous, but only by accident." The Admiral touched the control panel with his mind. New images appeared showing human space territories. Red lines marked where human influence was growing. The red area was getting bigger each year. "Lucky or not, they are expanding toward our space," Zethkar said. "The High Council has decided we must deal with this problem now, before it becomes bigger." The other leaders straightened up. When the High Council made a decision, all Corvani obeyed without question. "What are your orders, Admiral?" Velthara asked. Zethkar smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "We will send our best warriors. The Crimson Talon Special Forces will enter human space and take control of their key worlds. Once we defeat their strongest defenses and capture their leaders, the rest will surrender quickly. The Crimson Talon was famous throughout the galaxy. They had never failed to conquer a target species. Made up of the strongest and smartest Corvani warriors, they used the most advanced weapons and ships the Empire could create. "How many warriors should we send?" asked General Corthon. 100 soldiers should be enough," the Admiral replied. "Maybe less. Remember, we are not fighting a real military force. We are dealing with primitive creatures who fight with metal sticks and explosion devices." Commander Velthara looked at the human images again. "Should we offer them a chance to surrender first? Some species choose to join the Empire peacefully when they see our power." Admiral Zethkar considered this. "No. These humans have shown they are too divided to make group decisions. If we give them time to talk, they will just argue among themselves forever. Better to show them our strength first. After we win, the survivors will understand they have no choice but to obey." The meeting continued for several more hours. The Corvani leaders planned how to attack human worlds, which planets to target first, and how to deal with human resistance. They talked about humans like farmers talk about removing weeds from their fields. None of them thought to ask what made humans different from every other species they had conquered before. The Crimson Talon ships moved through space like silent shadows. Captain Vextar watched the human research station grow larger on his screen. The station looked like a metal cylinder spinning slowly in the darkness. Red lights blinked along its sides. "Target confirmed," said his weapons officer. 137 humans inside. No heavy weapons detected. Their shields are very weak. Vextar nodded with satisfaction. This would be easy, just like the Admiral had said. Begin the attack. Disable their power first, then board and capture the survivors. Blue energy beams shot from the Corvani ship. They hit the human station's shield generators and power core. The lights on the station went out one by one. The spinning stopped. The station drifted helplessly in space. "Boarding pods ready, Captain," reported squad leader Theknor. His 20 best warriors stood behind him, covered in black armor that could stop any human weapon they had seen. "Go," Vextar ordered. "Remember, we want prisoners alive to question." The boarding pods shot across space and attached to the station with loud metal clangs. Cutting tools burned through the hull. Smoke filled the corridors as Corvani warriors pushed inside. Theknor expected to find humans hiding in fear. Instead, the first human he saw was standing in the hallway holding a metal pipe. The human was a female with yellow hair tied back. She was bleeding from a cut on her head, but she was smiling. "Welcome to hell," she said, and pressed a button on a small device in her other hand. The explosion threw Theknor backward. The human female disappeared in fire and metal pieces. 3 of his warriors were caught in the blast. 2 died instantly. The 3rd lost an arm and was screaming. "What happened?" Vexatar's voice crackled through the communication device. "Report!" The human, "She killed herself to hurt us," Theknor said, confused. "This makes no sense. Why would anyone choose to die when they could surrender?" More explosions echoed through the station. Other Corvani squads reported similar attacks. Humans were destroying their own equipment rather than let it be captured. They were fighting in rooms filled with poisonous gas. Some were setting fires that blocked the corridors. "They are acting like animals backed into a corner," said one warrior over the radio. "But animals run when they can. These humans fight even when they have no chance to win." Squad leader Theknor pushed deeper into the station. He found a group of humans in what looked like their science laboratory. They had built a wall of furniture and metal plates. When they saw him coming, they started shooting their small metal bullet weapons. The bullets bounced off his armor like raindrops. Theknor laughed and raised his energy rifle. "Surrender now and you will not be hurt," he called out in their language. "Kiss my ass, alien scum," shouted one of the humans. He was an old man with gray hair and a face full of anger. Instead of dropping his weapon, he kept shooting even though the bullets did nothing. Vecnor shot his energy beam. It hit the old human in the chest and he fell down. But before he died, the old man smiled and whispered something to the young human next to him. The young human looked at Vecnor with hatred in his eyes. "Dr. Peterson says hello from Earth," he said, and pulled the pin from a small metal ball. Another explosion. More Corvani warriors hurt or killed. Back on the command ship, Captain Vextar watched his boarding teams struggle. What should have taken 1 hour was taking 6 hours. What should have cost 0 casualties had already killed 8 of his best warriors. "Sir," his communication officer said, "we are receiving a transmission from the human station. Put it on the main screen." A human face appeared. It was a woman with dark skin and short black hair. Her uniform was torn and she had burns on her arms, but her eyes were steady and calm. "I am Commander Sarah Chen, officer in charge of Research Station Omega-7, she said. "You have attacked a peaceful science facility and killed innocent people. We are not soldiers, but we will not surrender to murderers." Vextar leaned forward. "You cannot win this fight. Your weapons are useless against us. Submit now and your people will be treated fairly." Commander Chen laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "Fairly? Like you treated the people on Colony Base 6? We got their last transmission before you destroyed everything." She held up a small device. "This is connected to our fusion reactor. If I press this button, this entire station becomes a bomb big enough to damage your ship. My people are already dead or dying. The question is, how many of yours are you willing to lose?" Vextar felt something he had never experienced before. These humans were not acting like any species he had ever fought. Normal creatures valued their own lives above everything else. They would choose slavery over death. These humans seemed to think some things were more important than staying alive. "You are bluffing," he said. "No intelligent being would destroy themselves for no reason." "You're right," Chen said. "This is not for no reason. This is so the next human station you attack will know what kind of monsters you are. This is so Earth will know you can be hurt. This is so my daughter back home will know her mother died fighting instead of on her knees." The transmission ended. 5 seconds later, the human research station exploded in a ball of fire that lit up space for millions of kilometers. The explosion was so big, it pushed the Corvani ship backward. Alarms rang throughout the vessel. Half of the Crimson Talon warriors who had boarded the station were now dead. Captain Vextar sat in his command chair, staring at the empty space where the station had been. In 30 years of military service, he had never seen anything like this. "Sir," his navigation officer said quietly, "we have orders to attack the mining facility in the next system." Vextar nodded slowly. "Set course. But increase our shields to maximum power and prepare more warriors. I think we are learning that our intelligence about these humans was not complete." As the Corvani ship moved toward its next target, Captain Vextar thought about Commander Chen's words. The humans had sent messages to other human settlements. They were warning each other. They were sharing information about Corvani tactics and weaknesses. Most disturbing of all, they seemed to be getting angry instead of afraid. Colonel Zarketh read the battle reports with growing confusion. 3 more human settlements had been attacked in the past week. All 3 had fought to the death. None had surrendered. "This is not normal behavior," he said to his staff officers aboard the flagship Crimson Dawn. "According to our files, most species surrender after losing 30% of their population. Humans keep fighting even when they have lost 90%. Lieutenant Mordak pointed to the tactical display. "Sir, we are also seeing changes in their resistance patterns. The first settlements we attacked fought with basic weapons and simple tactics. but each new target seems to know exactly how we operate. The display showed recorded videos from their recent battles. In the first attacks, humans had hidden in corners and shot at Corvani warriors with small guns. Now they were digging traps, using their own technology as weapons, and setting up ambush points that caught Corvani soldiers by surprise. "Look at this recording from the asteroid mining base," Mordak continued. "They had modified their mining lasers to work as weapons. The beam frequency was adjusted specifically to disrupt our armor systems." Colonel Zarketh watched the video. It showed human miners wearing heavy work suits, carrying tools that shot focused light beams. When the beams hit Corvani armor, the protective energy fields failed. Several warriors had been killed by weapons made from mining equipment. "How did they know the right frequency?" Zarketh asked. "That is the disturbing part, sir. They should not have had any information about our armor systems, yet they found the exact frequency needed to disable our protection." Communications Officer Nelvara spoke up from her station. "Colonel, we have intercepted more human transmissions. They are sharing information about our tactics across their entire network. Each attack we make gives them more data about our weapons and defenses." Zarketh moved to the communications station. "Show me." The screen displayed human communication networks. Thousands of messages were moving between human settlements, ships, and planets. The humans were talking to each other constantly, sharing everything they learned. "This message came from the mining base just before we destroyed it," Nelvara said. "It contains detailed information about our boarding procedures, weapon types, and armor weaknesses. This information reached 17 other human settlements within minutes." The colonel read the message. It was written in simple human language, but it contained accurate technical data about Corvani military systems. More importantly, it contained something else. "They are not just sharing tactical information," he said slowly. "They are sharing emotional messages. Look at this part." He pointed to a section of the message that said, "Tell my wife I love her. Tell my children their daddy fought bravely. These aliens think they can scare us into giving up. They don't understand that humans become more dangerous when we're angry, not less." "Sir," said another officer, "we are seeing evidence of increased human military activity. Ships that used to carry cargo are now being converted into warships. Civilian factories are producing weapons. Even their scientists are working on military projects." Zarketh pulled up a map of human space. Red dots showed all the settlements they had attacked. Green lines showed human communication networks. The map revealed something that made his blood run cold. "They are unifying," he whispered. Lieutenant Mordak leaned closer. "Sir, look at these communication patterns. Before we started our attacks, humans were sending messages mainly within their own local groups. Now they are talking to each other across their entire territory. Our attacks are not dividing them. They are bringing them together." The tactical display changed to show recent human fleet movements. Ships from different human governments were joining together. Military forces that had been separated by political differences were now working as one unit. "This does not match any pattern in our historical database," said the computer analysis officer. "Every other species we have conquered became more divided under pressure. Fear makes groups break apart and turn on each other. But these humans are doing the opposite." Colonel Zarketh sat down heavily in his command chair. "What else have we learned about them?" The computer analysis officer continued. "Their technology improvement rate is unprecedented. Normal species take decades to develop new weapon systems. Humans are creating new designs in days. They are also showing unusual creativity in how they use existing equipment." "Give me an example." "Yesterday, a human cargo ship attacked one of our scout vessels by launching shipping containers full of metal debris at high speed. They turned their loading equipment into a kinetic weapon system. Our scout ship was severely damaged because we did not expect such an unconventional attack." More reports came in throughout the day. Human settlements were no longer easy targets. They had built defensive systems using modified civilian technology. They had trained ordinary citizens to fight like soldiers. Most disturbingly, they were setting traps for Corvani forces. "Sir," Communications Officer Nelvara said urgently, "we have received a general transmission from human space. It is being broadcast on all frequencies." "Put it on the main screen." The image that appeared showed a human man in a blue military uniform. He had gray hair and tired eyes, but his voice was strong and clear. "I am Admiral William Carter of the United Human Defense Force," he said. 3 weeks ago, your people began attacking our peaceful settlements without warning or declaration of war. You have killed innocent men, women, and children. You have destroyed homes, schools, and hospitals." Admiral Carter paused and looked directly at the camera. "You made a mistake. You thought we would be easy victims because we are divided among ourselves. You thought we would surrender quickly because we are physically weaker than you. You were wrong." The transmission showed images of human fleets gathering in space. Hundreds of ships of different designs, all flying together under the same flag. "You wanted to test your strength against us," Admiral Carter continued. "We accept your challenge. But understand this. You are not fighting just one human settlement or one human government anymore. You are fighting all of humanity. And we will not stop fighting until every one of your ships is destroyed or driven from our space." The transmission ended. Colonel Zarketh and his officers sat in silence. Finally, Lieutenant Mordak spoke. "Sir, should we request reinforcements?" Zarketh thought about this question for a long time. The Crimson Talon had started with 100 of the Empire's best warriors. 23 were now dead. Many others were wounded. They had destroyed several human settlements, but the cost had been much higher than expected. "Yes," he said quietly. "Send a message to Admiral Zethkar. Tell him we need additional forces. Tell him the humans are not behaving according to our projections." He paused, then added something that would have been unthinkable 3 weeks earlier. "Tell him we may have made a serious mistake." High Admiral Zethkar's second fleet arrived in human space like a storm of metal and energy. 50 warships, each one larger than a human city, moved in perfect formation toward the humans' main colonies. The Admiral stood on the bridge of his flagship, confident that this show of force would end the human resistance quickly. "Begin scanning for human defensive positions," he ordered. "I want to know where they are hiding their remaining ships." The sensor officer worked at his station for several minutes before looking up with confusion. "Sir, I am detecting massive energy signatures around the human core worlds, but the patterns are strange. It appears they have built some kind of shield network." Admiral Zethkar frowned. "Impossible. Our intelligence shows they do not have shield technology advanced enough to protect entire planets." "Sir," the officer said nervously, "the energy signatures match our own shield systems. The patterns are almost identical to Corvani defensive arrays." The Admiral felt a cold feeling in his stomach. "Show me." The main display lit up with a tactical view of the human solar system. Around the central planets, glowing lines of energy formed a complex web of defensive shields. The technology was clearly based on Corvani designs, but it had been modified and improved in ways that seemed impossible. "How long would it take them to build this?" Zethkar asked. "Using our construction methods? Several years, sir. But these shields appear to have been built in less than 6 weeks. Communications Officer Rilnara spoke from her station. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the humans." "Put it on screen." The face that appeared belonged to the same human admiral they had seen before, Admiral Carter. But now he was speaking from what looked like a large military command center. Behind him, screens showed dozens of human ships in formation. "Admiral Zethkar," Carter said, somehow knowing exactly who he was speaking to. "We meet again. I see you brought friends this time. Zethkar was surprised that the human knew his name and rank, but he kept his voice calm. Admiral Carter, I have come to offer you one final chance to surrender. Submit to the Corvani Empire now, and your people will be treated with respect. Carter smiled, but it was not a friendly expression. That's very kind of you, but I have a counteroffer. Leave our space immediately, and we'll let you go home safely. Several Corvani officers laughed at this. The idea that humans could threaten them was ridiculous. You are outnumbered 50-1, Zethkar said. Your shields will not save you for long. You're right, Carter admitted. We are outnumbered, but you might want to take a closer look at our ships before you assume this will be easy. The tactical display zoomed in on the human fleet. Zethkar's confidence began to crack as he saw what the humans had done. Their ships had been upgraded with Corvani technology, but not just copied. The humans had improved the designs, making them faster and more powerful than the originals. How did they... he began. Every time you attacked one of our settlements, we learned something new about your technology, Carter explained. Every piece of wreckage you left behind was studied and understood. Every weapon you fired was analyzed and copied. You have been teaching us how to fight you, one battle at a time. Zethkar realized the full scope of his error. The Corvani had been fighting to win quickly. The humans had been fighting to learn. Begin the attack, he ordered his fleet. The space battle that followed was unlike anything in Corvani military history. Human ships moved in ways that should have been impossible, pulling turns that would have killed normal pilots. But humans seemed to ignore the physical stress, pushing their bodies and ships far beyond safe limits. Their pilots are insane, shouted the tactical officer as he watched a human fighter ship ram through a Corvani cruiser's shields. That maneuver should have knocked the pilot unconscious. More disturbing than their piloting was their strategy. Human ships worked together in ways that seemed almost telepathic, even though they had no psychic abilities. They communicated constantly, sharing information and coordinates faster than Corvani computers could track. Sir, the sensor officer reported, the humans are using our own captured warriors against us. What do you mean? They have Corvani prisoners aboard their command ships. They are forcing them to reveal our tactical codes and communication frequencies. Admiral Zethkar was shocked. That is against all rules of war. Prisoners cannot be forced to reveal military secrets. The answer came through an open communication channel. It was a Corvani voice, but the speaker sounded broken and afraid. Admiral, this is Captain Vextar of the Crimson Talon. They do not torture prisoners. They do something worse. They show us videos of what our attacks have done to their children. They make us watch human families crying over destroyed homes. They force us to understand what we have caused. Vexatar's voice became a whisper. They are not forcing me to give them information, Admiral. I am choosing to help them because I cannot bear to be responsible for more of this suffering. The communication ended. Admiral Zethkar stared at the screen in horror. The humans had found a way to attack Corvani minds without using any technology. They were using something called guilt and empathy, emotions that Corvani barely understood. The battle continued for hours. Human ships that were destroyed seemed to be instantly replaced by new ones emerging from behind planets and moons. The Corvani fleet, which had started with 50 ships, was down to 37. Sir, the tactical officer said urgently, we are losing this fight. Our weapons are not as effective as they should be. The humans have modified their ship armor to resist our energy beams. How is that possible? They have been studying the wreckage from every ship we destroyed. They know exactly how our weapons work, and they have built defenses specifically designed to stop them. A new alarm rang throughout the bridge. Sir, the sensor officer called out, I am detecting human ships approaching from multiple directions. They appear to be surrounding our fleet. Admiral Zethkar looked at the tactical display. Human ships were indeed moving to encircle the Corvani fleet. But these were not the same ships they had been fighting. These were new vessels, different designs, larger and more heavily armed. "Admiral," came Admiral Carter's voice over the communication system, "I think it's time we had an honest conversation. You came here thinking you were fighting primitive savages with simple weapons. You were wrong. You are fighting a species that gets stronger every time you hurt us." The human admiral paused, then continued. "Your warriors have been very educational. The ones we captured have told us about your empire, your other conquests, your weaknesses. In exchange, we have shown them what humanity can be when we stop fighting each other and start working together." Zethkar realized with growing horror that he was not just losing a battle. He was losing a war that he had not even known he was fighting. "What do you want?" he asked. "Simple," Carter replied. "We want you to go home and tell your leaders exactly what happened here. Tell them that humanity is no longer just another species they can conquer. Tell them that we are ready for whatever they send next." The transmission ended. Admiral Zethkar looked around his bridge at the faces of his officers. They all showed the same emotion: fear. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Corvani Empire had met a species they could not defeat. 3 months passed without any word from human space. The great crystal halls of the Corvani Empire were filled with quiet celebration. High Council members spoke of victory and the successful conquest of another primitive species. Admiral Zethkar sat alone in his private chamber, staring out at the 3 suns that lit their home world. He had returned with only 12 ships from his original fleet of 50. Most of his warriors were dead or missing, but the High Council chose to believe his silence meant success. "The humans have been defeated," they announced to the Empire. "Prepare colonization fleets to claim their worlds and resources." Zethkar had tried to tell them the truth about what happened in human space. He had described the humans' rapid technology advancement, their unity in the face of destruction, their willingness to die rather than surrender. But the High Council refused to listen. "You are clearly suffering from battle stress," they told him. "No primitive species could defeat the Corvani Empire. Rest and recover. When the colonization fleets return with human slaves, you will see that victory was achieved." So Zethkar waited and worried, knowing that something terrible was coming. The silence from human space was finally broken on a day when the 3 suns aligned in the sky. Emergency alarms rang throughout the Corvani capital city. Defense Minister Kralthek burst into the High Council chamber, his blue skin pale with fear. "Ships," he said, breathing heavily. "Unknown ships on the edge of our solar system." The council members looked confused. "Unknown ships? Impossible. No species knows the location of our home world except those we have conquered." "Show us," commanded High Chancellor Morketh. The chamber's main display lit up with images from the outer defense stations. What they saw made several council members step backward in shock. Hundreds of ships approached their solar system. But these were not simple human vessels. These ships combined human and Corvani technology in ways that seemed impossible. They were larger than Corvani battleships, armed with weapons that glowed with familiar energy, but built with a style that was completely alien. "Those are human ships," Admiral Zethkar said quietly. "But they have been improved far beyond anything we saw 3 months ago." "Impossible!" High Chancellor Morketh shouted. "We destroyed their fleet. We conquered their space." The display showed more details as the ships came closer. Each vessel carried markings in human language, but also symbols that looked like modified Corvani military signs. It was as if 2 different technologies had been merged into something new and more powerful. "Sir," Communications Officer Nelvara said from her station, "we are receiving a transmission from the lead ship. The signal is coming through on our most secure military frequency." "How do they know our secure codes?" demanded the High Chancellor. Put the transmission on screen, Admiral Zethkar said. He already knew the answer to that question. The face that appeared belonged to Admiral Carter, but he looked different now. He wore a uniform that combined human and Corvani design elements. Behind him stood other humans, but also several figures in Corvani military dress. High Chancellor Morketh, Carter said, speaking perfect Corvani language. I bring greetings from the Human Corvani Alliance. Alliance? The High Chancellor sputtered. What alliance? We sent forces to conquer you. Carter smiled. Yes, you did. And your forces taught us many valuable things about Corvani technology, tactics, and culture. Some of your warriors chose to stay with us after learning about human values like freedom, equality, and cooperation. Others asked to return home to share what they had learned. The camera moved to show the bridge of the human ship. Corvani warriors worked alongside humans at control stations. They were not prisoners or slaves. They appeared to be willing partners. This is impossible, High Chancellor Morketh said. Corvani do not betray their own species. They are not betraying anyone, Carter replied. They are choosing a better way to live. Your empire rules through fear and force. We showed them that different species can work together as equals. One of the Corvani warriors stepped forward. It was Captain Vextar who had led the first attacks on human settlements. High Chancellor, Vextar said, the humans showed me something I had never seen before. They showed me what happens when people fight for something they love instead of something they fear. Their strength comes not from weapons or technology, but from their willingness to sacrifice for each other. Traitor! The High Chancellor screamed. No, Vexatar said calmly. I am finally understanding what it means to be truly strong. Admiral Carter spoke again. We did not come here to conquer your worlds or enslave your people. We came to deliver a message and return something that belongs to you. The camera view changed to show the cargo bay of the human ship. Inside were hundreds of Corvani warriors, the survivors of the attempted invasion. They were alive, healthy, and unharmed. These warriors came to destroy us, Carter explained. Instead, they became our teachers. They taught us about your technology and your culture. In return, we taught them about human concepts like mercy, forgiveness, and cooperation. The High Chancellor stared at the screen. What is your message? Carter's expression became serious. Your empire has ruled through strength and fear for 1,000 years. You have conquered many species because they had no choice but to submit or die. But humanity offers a third option, which is partnership. We have proven that different species can work together and become stronger than either could be alone. Your own warriors have seen this with their own eyes. Admiral Carter paused, then continued. But if you choose to continue the old ways, if you send more fleets to attack us or any other peaceful species, you will find that humanity has learned much from your teachings. We are no longer the divided, primitive creatures you first encountered. The display showed images of human space. Hundreds of worlds now flew both human and Corvani flags. Massive shipyards built vessels that combined the best technology from both species. Defense platforms surrounded every human world, armed with weapons that could destroy anything the Corvani Empire might send. You wanted to test your best against us, Carter said. We have kept your warriors alive so they can return home and tell you what they learned. I suggest you listen carefully to their reports. The transmission showed Corvani prisoners being loaded onto small transport ships. They were returning home, but they carried with them something more dangerous than any weapon, new ideas about how different species could live together. Choose wisely, Carter concluded. Humanity is ready for peace, but we are also ready for war. The difference is that now we know we are not alone. We have allies among your own people who believe in something better than conquest and control. The transmission ended. The High Council chamber was silent for a long time. Finally, Admiral Zethkar spoke. I told you this would happen. I warned you that the humans were different from any species we had encountered before. What do you suggest we do? Asked the High Chancellor, his voice much quieter now. Zethkar looked at the display showing the human fleet. They could destroy the Corvani homeworld if they chose to. Instead, they had come to return prisoners and offer friendship. I suggest we listen, he said. For the first time in our history, we have encountered a species that becomes stronger when attacked, wiser when tested, and more dangerous when threatened. They have turned our own warriors into willing allies. They have built a fleet that could conquer us, but instead they offer partnership. He paused, then added something that would change the Corvani Empire forever. I suggest we learn what it means to be truly strong. Outside the crystal windows of the council chamber, the human fleet waited patiently for an answer. They had come not as conquerors, but as teachers, ready to show the galaxy that strength could come from unity instead of domination. The age of human conquest through force was ending. The age of human influence through example had begun.